Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. Today a new video about Final Fantasy XIV. In this video we'll take a look at an article on Square Enix official website. A few weeks ago they released different articles about Final Fantasy XIV, like a world tour about the game. And for today's video I'm gonna talk about the Endwalker world tour, the most interesting one since that's new areas basically. So Qyorria on the article, as always, well, maybe not always, but I will put the link in the description for this article. I will also try to put on some subtitles if my English is not perfect, but I will most likely read what is on that article, so if you can follow easily. So Final Fantasy XIV Online World Tour Endwalker. We have spent the last few months looking back at where we have been in idling. Now it's time to cast your eyes forward at where we are going. This article was written by Duncan Iney, Content Communication Manager in Square Enix. Okay, that's a community manager. So we have a nice visual about the main protagonist of the game when we go on cinematics as a paladin for the next expansion, well, at least for some screens. Over the last few months, we have been taking a nostalgic tour of Final Fantasy XIV Online's idling. We have taken a look at where our adventures started in Orion Reborn, looked back at the dragon-rich regions of Events World, gone above and below the waves of in Stormblood, and into a new world in Shadowbringers. But you can't look back forever. With the next expansion, Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker just 2 weeks away. Lesser than a week if you go on the pre-release actually. We thought we'd give another look at where we are going next. No spoilers, but they are some of the most exciting yet. So yeah, this article shouldn't contain any spoiler. It will be like minor spoilers if you didn't take a look at what's going on in Endwalker. It will most likely speak about the different areas of the game, or the expansion actually. So if you really don't want any spoilers, and I may have shown a little one about on below the screen, but it will go. This article goes in every areas of the game, every known areas of the game. Maybe there are some secrets, we don't know. So the first one is Old Sharlayan. One of the new cities in Endwalker is actually an old one. Old Sharlayan, to be precise. We have been gifted glimpses of Sharlayan architecture before in places such as the Dravanian Hinterland, but the expansion is the first time we'll be able to explore this expansive settlement. So yeah, in Dravanian Hinterland, so in Events World expansion, we have new Sharlayan areas that got a bit destroyed by the time because they left it. But Old Sharlayan is a former city of Sharlayan people and the Sage, obviously. So next we will have visual in-game. So this is the Azerite of Sharlayan. That's interesting. We can see some basic architecture that we could have seen in Dravanian Hinterland already. The same style at least. You have another place. This probably will be something really important, like an academia or something like that. It's large and beautiful, with gleaming white building that emphasizes its place at the center of Sharlayan society. When you get to visit, make sure to take in the stadium the most prestigious seat of learning on Idolin. So yeah, that's the stadium, I think. And so that's where sage are becoming sage. As in the lore, probably not we will become sage. Next, we have another visual about the, well, not the beach, but the shore. We see about in the background, so probably where we will arrive from Eorzea to Sharlayan, as Sharlayan is an island on the northwest of Idolin. Next, we have Labyrinthos, with a nice visual about something like a dome above a big hall on some green ground. Venture deep below the street of Old Sharlayan and you'll discover Labyrinthos. So this is under Sharlayan. This vast subterranean environment was created as a repository for knowledge gathered from all over the world. So basically, that's creation from Sharlayan people, from what we can gather from the text. So that's, place created by Sharlayan people. Just like if you remember, Eureka was kinda created by Sharlayan to at least Baldecian Arsenal on Eureka Island. So this part of Sharlayan will probably be a wild one. So like we will have some creatures that doesn't exist anymore in Final Fantasy XIV. Like maybe they got killed, eradicated or stuff like that, and so Sharlayan people might have saved them and put some species in that, as well as some old knowledge that we shouldn't know anymore. So we have some in-game visual again. We have some building with some tower and stuff like that. That's still in Sharlayan style, but a bit more, less cornered, more circular or stuff like that. That's interesting. We also have that big building. To protect the invaluable tomes stored here, the climate is hierarchically controlled. The large surrounding and artificial scale mean you'd be forgiven for forgetting you are underground at all. So there are two things to understand from that text again. First, this building is the most important one because there is all the old knowledge of Sharlayan and things they don't want to share things that inside of it. So that's probably a dungeon or something, actually, entrance of a dungeon. You have to go through the building or stuff like that, maybe. We don't know yet. And another interesting thing is the last sentence. So the artificial sky mean you'd be forgiven to forget you are so underground at all. So like, if a species got saved, for example, from my example before, and got put in that place, they probably don't know they are underground. We have another visual for Labyrinthos. So that's the artificial sun that light the place. Really interesting. Next we have Radz-at-Han. That's quite a new place. We don't know yet. We have a first artwork with the city of Radz-at-Han, surrounded by rivers and some green ground. That's quite an isolated place, I think. Radz-at-Han is famous around Idolin, not just as a bustling trade hub, but also as the birthplace of alchemy. This city has produced countless people of influence as well as inventions that change the world. So that's interesting. So when you will do your crafter, your alchemist or so, maybe that's a place you have to check, at least for your story. So now we have some visual of in-game sneak peek. So like a gate here to some kind of building. We have the Aetherite place. Interesting. But what you'll probably notice on your initial visit is just how visually striking it is. Perched atop a towering pillar of rock, its streets and building burst with color. It's like nowhere else in the world of Final Fantasy XIV Online. And you can indeed check the pillars here, for example, that look like a tribal thing or like an ancient history thing, or maybe some colors you can see in Indian tribe, American Indian tribe, or African tribes or stuff like that. Really traditional, I mean. The next place for this world tour is Thavnair. You might have known that place before, because if you're a crafter, most likely, you might have seen that name before. A lot of things come from this place. So you have a visual about some 3-level areas with a lot of building that reminds of Radz-at. I don't want to mess with that. Radz-at-Han. So that reminds it. That reminds a big city. That's interesting. We have some rocks, some green parts, some water, some ruins, like in Qyorria. Really interesting. This island lies in the Bounty's southern-eastern waters. When you visit, expect sweltering heat, extreme humidity, and some absolutely stunning scenery. And indeed, if that's in-game, probably. Well, that's not in-game, but when you will see that in-game, probably from these buildings, that will be some nice visual. I wonder if we can go on that purple part. Also, this purple part look like, well, maybe that's living, you know? I don't know. Yeah, so next we have the in-game part, and you can see it in-game, that purple crystal going out of the land. We have some pier, so probably a fishing village or something like that. Very interesting. That's probably the starting area of Thavnair before going to the main city, to the capital city of Thavnair. This second place is interesting. That's some bath, I guess, with an elephant statue that reminds of the beast tribe that lives around, probably, because we know that there is a beast tribe on that island. The area is a rich source of giant's gall, a magically infused stone causes a distinctive glow in many of its rocky outcrops. Chocobo amateurs will remember that areas for other reasons too. Okay, and interesting. Some chocobos will be involved in that island, maybe. And the last nice visual, we have some kind of statues. Oh yeah, of course. I forgot that. But well, there are statues of dancers, because if you did the story of Dancer Job, of course, actually it comes from Thavnair. The Total Dance, I don't remember the name, but that's something like that. So that's interesting. We'll see the origin of Dancer. And we have some Aetherite out of the big city, so... Oh, next part is kind of spoilery. I don't know. So we will obviously go to Garlemald in the next expansion. So let's see what remains of the city that got destroyed in the last expansion. not destroyed, but almost. So we have a nice artwork here. That's probably the castle in the center of the city of Garlemald, and the surroundings got definitely destroyed by it and by the leaders and stuff. The Guardian Empire has been a thorn in the Warriors of Light's sides since A Realm Reborn. In Endwalker, we are finally stepping foot on their home turf. And we have, again, in-game visual that reminds, if you played it, that reminds of Final Fantasy XV when you go back to the capital city, so Insomnia, after it got, after the story and stuff like that. I won't spoil it, but it's interesting. So we have a lot of destroyed building. We've got some roads. We don't have roads like that in other part of Idling, so that's interesting. They have cars. Another part that's not beautiful to see unless you are like destruction, but that's purposely not beautiful. Like visually, you know that it is desolated. You know that you won't find any cute things in that. You don't have to see corpses, but most likely there are corpses, like a lot of people died in that destruction, so that reminds of that. Garlemald always had a natural disadvantage due to its location on the frozen plains of northern Ilsabard, so that's the northern continent of Idling. Despite this, the imperial capital was able to utilize the power of Magitech and bring industry and development to the city and turn the empire into a major power in the world. So if you don't know already, Garlemald people cannot use either, so they had to create something to use either. And so Magitech exists to bring an end to their lack of either manipulation. We have another visual, some snowy road. That's probably outside of the city or in its border or something like that. Interesting. And we see in the background the mountains. Rodgar reapers come from these mountains, one of them. So that's interesting again. Alas, those days are now gone. Civil war has left this once proud city broken and in ruins. You'll get to explore the desolation for yourself soon. And we've got another visual before going to the next part. I will hide that. So the next part, we have some kind of hydraulic stuff to take something from the ground inside the earth, inside Idling, I mean, with some pipes to get to the castle probably. So this castle is the main castle of Garlemald Empire, of course. That's where the Emperor was living. We will see what happened to that castle in Endwalker, but probably a lot of things. Maybe that's even where we the game. I don't know, but you can be sure we will visit that castle. So next we have probably the most obvious and yet the most exciting, I would say, things about Endwalker. Even if I'm excited for Sharlayan and Radz-at-Han, Mare Lamentorum is a part of the moon. And so yes, again, we go to the moon. As we already know, it's on the visual of Endwalker anyway. So we have visual about an artwork about the moon and Mare Lamentorum, one of the areas. This is the main building of Sharlayan. I believe that Sharlayan building, or I don't want to say to give mistake. If that's not Sharlayan building, that's maybe elegant building, actually, because it reminds a bit of the Crystal Tower. We also have a netherite here, so that's probably where we will go a lot. And we see in the background Idolin, of course. You probably know this, but it's worth saying anyway. Endwalker is taking us to the blooming moon. You'll have to forgive our excitement because despite its arid basalt surface, the lunar region of Mare Lamentorum is one of the most fascinating in all of Endwalker. You'll notice that the area is dotted with apparently artificial structures, their purpose and origin that has yet to be discovered. And the next text is about early access and game item stuff. It's not just new areas that Endwalker adds, of course. There is much more: an epic new story, new jobs, new races, new quests, new challenges, a new raid, and the list goes on. I hope that you enjoyed the lecture of that article. It is in the description again if you want to go back to it. If maybe you want to get some artwork from it or some visual or so. I wanted to make that video because I found these articles interesting because it makes you like wait and hype for Endwalker. I will most likely do other videos about Endwalker, about what to expect, about maybe the story, maybe a little reminder of the story, what will happen most likely. We don't know yet, but that will be a bit spoilery, probably. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that little video about Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker. Put a like if you did like, a dislike if you didn't, subscribe for more, and see you next time.